We've got more games coming to you for the Major. I hope you have been having a fantastic time. We've been getting hella excited. Not only do we have some amazing games that we casted to determine who would be top seed in their groups, but since then we've been chilling out watching some nuts games. A little bit of bias here, but that Direwolves game was fire, as was the Wolves one as well. Both huge victories that have shaken up their group quite significantly.
I know, right? It is crazy that we are saying that Direwolves could go to the playoffs from that group, which is insane because we said Group D, that was a top-heavy stacked one. You know, Wolves definitely going to go, FaZe are definitely going to go, and then Direwolves just took them down 7-3. That is crazy.
It's true, and what's more, Wolves are now looking like the land curse is perhaps gone. They are getting in their stride, and they are looking like they might book in playoffs. But of course, we're paying our attention to a different group now. It's time for TSM to get back into the server, and they're taking on Heroic. Of course, as we are more than halfway through the group stage, we are on to rematches now, and that is why this gets particularly exciting, because this was a full 12-round game. The last time these two teams crashed heads, it was their first matches of the Major, and TSM just edged out that win yesterday.
Yeah, this one's pretty exciting. It's Heroic and their chance at redemption story. Now, in my opinion, from watching them today, they look a little bit better today than they did yesterday.
A little bit better. They 7-1 Sandbox.
Yeah, well, look. Sandbox ain't doing so hot.
Okay.
This time they're playing against TSM, and TSM had a pretty bloody showing against Team Liquid just earlier today on board. That was the match that we casted, and even though they lost it, it was pretty hectic. TSM played a pretty great match against them. They really took the fight, and against Heroic, I feel like it's going to be a tough battle.
Yeah, and Heroic is a team that you and I haven't actually casted as of yet. Let's just quickly pay our attention to this group. As you can see, like you were saying, Team Liquid took their win over TSM. They're still undefeated, so they're in first place. Heroic, though, is fighting for that playoff spot, which TSM is currently sitting in. So there's a real chance here that this game could eventually determine the final group standings and which of TSM and Heroic go to playoffs.
That's exactly right. This group at this point is the midfield battle between TSM and Heroic, and this is going to be the matchup that separates the two of them now that it is also their rematch, right? They're not going to get a chance to play against each other anymore, and so this will be the dividing factor. Heroic, they're starting to come into their form. They started off slow in day one. They look better in day two. TSM coming off the back of a pretty bloody loss against Liquid.
And let's take our attention over to Heroic now. As we cast a TSM earlier today, Heroic are a team that within the EUL have had some pretty significant heights, but also some pretty significant lows. They came first in stage one, and they went to that Charlotte Major and really fumbled the ball. They're also known for having a bit of shenanigans. Mr. Officer is quite the character, quite a personality, and as he gathers his team around, I'm sure he'd have some really choice motivating words. He really gives me the vibes of like a serious motivational speaker. And Heroic, they're going to need it. You know, they got two rookies coming in Joom and Mello, who have only been on this team for just 2 months and already find themselves at their first major.
What Joom and Mel have been able to achieve is pretty impressive on this roster so far. So as they've come into it, we've got Joom, who's become the first entry of this team, followed up by Benja, who's the secondary entry of the team. And those two have brought on the firepower to Rogue that they really need to propel themselves forward in this current meta. What that means is, though, that Uno has actually been moved into the IGLing role. And that's something that he's actually never had to do until this roster move came through, until pretty much he started playing on Heroic, right? It's been a completely new skill set for him to learn, and he's done really, really well.
I want to talk about Joom for a minute. Of all of the players at this event, Joom actually has the highest lifetime CGG rating of any player at 1.26. Wow. That is nuts. That is huge. Of course, much lower sample size than your players like Paolo and Nesk, so take it with a grain of salt. But that still counts for something. In his limited games, he has really been showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. He is, in my opinion, the rookie of this major. We have a lot of rookies at this major, but I think if we had to pinpoint to one or two, Joom is definitely up there for me as some of the best at the moment at this major. I think as well, just want to point out Mello. Mello fulfills a more of a flexible role within the team. He sort of just slotted it in and fulfilled whatever operator picks or sort of the odd utility that is needed on both the attack and the defense. And I think he's been a really great addition to this roster as well.
As you can see, we've actually done the map veto, and we're going to Clubhouse. It was Heroic who had the final ban, and funnily enough, according to my stats, Heroic have actually not played Clubhouse in the entirety of Stage 3. If I go back to Stage 2, however, they lost it 7-3 to Rogue, 7-5 in the Northern Premier League to Victors, and 7-3 again to 10-Star in the Northern Premier League. So this is a map that we haven't seen Heroic play with this new roster at all. They didn't play it in the entire Stage 3, and back when they did play it in Stage 2, they got slaughtered on it. And yet they were the ones that, when push came to shove and it was between Club and CAF, Heroic picked to go to Clubhouse.
Very, very interesting. Now, I love day 2 of Majors, because day 2 of Majors is where we fully see the hand of every single team and their strat book and their map pool, right? And I think for Rogue, taking us to something brand new is a pretty interesting move. We saw TSM do it a little bit earlier today on Border.
Almost worked out for them.
It almost did. TSM have a very scary Border for a map that we've never seen them play in an official match. I can only imagine that Heroic have got some shenanigans up their sleeve.
And for TSM, they actually also didn't play this map in Stage 3. However, they did play it yesterday against Sandbox and won 7-4. So it's not a stranger to them. And Heroic would have known full well that TSM had been prepping this map. If I go back to Stage 2, TSM did play this against Space Station and won at 8-6, and also against Sonics earlier in the season, and did win that 7-5. I've also got that they played it at the Gamers 8 event and were decimated by BDS 7-1. Whether you want to take that with a grain of salt, it's up to you. But the big thing here is that for both of these teams, the last time they played this outside the Sandbox game yesterday for TSM, it was with this different roster. Both of these teams having made 2 big roster changes, bringing in 2 rookie players. And so not only are we going to be testing the OGs, the chemistry, what these teams have been able to achieve, onboarding these players in the last 2 months, but also how these rookies can translate their online performance onto the stage.
That's so true. Hey, we've got not just 2, but 4 rookies in the server because this matchup is like that. Wow, it's going to be a big test to show how the rebuild of these teams has gone through Stage 3. Which one of them has become more advanced in this short amount of time that they've been together as a 5-man roster? Oh, this is going to be a really exciting game, Dev. I can't wait.
I'm super keen. We also have tons of OGs on these teams as well. Like Uno, for example, I mean, he had a stint on G2 when they were at just about their best. And as for TSM, of course, 3 of these players have won the Invitational here in Sweden at the start of the year. Now they turn their attention to another Swedish event, however, a major, after 2 stages of really struggling to bounce back after that world championship that they managed to claim, and they're finally looking like they might be a serious contender. Unfortunately for them, they have copped their first L of the group stage earlier today against Liquid, but they really need to redeem themselves here against Heroic.
Yeah, and I believe if we just go back to the Sprabuni and Arath percentages, I believe it is if Heroic do win this game, they overtake their percentage chance of TSM. They go up to a 59% chance, I believe it is, for qualifying into the playoffs. Whereas for TSM, if they lose this in regulation, they go down to a 44%. If my memory serves me correct, I could be completely wrong, but I believe in myself for that one.
Good.
And so winning this particular series is the tipping point for the playoffs. It really is by the numbers. And I think that for TSM, if they want to stay competitive in that top 2, it's a must win.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if Heroic win this game, they will actually be tied for points with TSM, assuming they win it and get all the 3 points from it. If this goes overtime, then TSM will be in the lead in the standings no matter what. But we are getting into Clubhouse. You guys at home have voted TSM as the favorites by a decent margin, 70-30. We're getting into Clubhouse here. It's another NA versus EU matchup, with Heroic looking to tie TSM in the group standings.
Exciting one. The bans have already started there in the server. The first one to be taken out will be the OSA. I'm wondering if is this going to be a Maverick game or is this going to be a Thatcher game of... Okay, it's going to be a both game of Clubhouse. It's not every day that you see both Thatcher and Maverick slip through the ban phase of Clubhouse. It does mean that there are plenty of options to get those external walls open, not just the external ones, but I can imagine getting your hatches open, going down to triple on Church suddenly becomes a little bit more viable because you've got the Thatcher in hand if you want to go for it.
It's really cool when not only do you have Thatcher, Maverick, your disablers are available, but also all of the hard breaches are available. So you really have the choice of absolutely anything that you would like to play on that attacking side. You have a lot of flexibility on top of the fact that you have, of course, attacker repick. So you could really pick your favorite lineup for every site, with the exception of that Ossa and the Flores, which aren't the highest pick operators. They're just very good at what they do. We also have the Nook making it through, Mandy, which, I mean, Nook has had a rough tournament so far and a rough stage in general. I think it's overall just about the most banned map in banned operator rather in every single region in stage 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And TSM immediately going to start out on this basement bomb site, seeing as walls are going to be opened fairly easily. You probably don't want to start out on that CCTV cache bomb site because you really can't keep that kennels wall closed for too long. You can't keep garage closed for too long. Same thing with the gym bedroom bomb site. So I like the TSM's approach immediately, trying to go down to this basement. And even then, they're playing this extended roam. They're opening up the hatch inside of Moto. They're reinforcing the jacuzzi wall off as well. And as a result, it means that they're not going to give away the entire map to Heroic because they have so many tools in their arsenal to cut down the bomb site.
Yeah, I love it when you see an operator lineup like this. You just know that TSM have picked guns that they are very happy to use to take some fights. They've picked that roaming prowess on things like Oryx. I mean, you said it. They also got that smoke for the backline. Going to keep my eye on Snake as well. He had a fantastic performance earlier today. Wow, Joom! The Gaul just walking straight on in. He does also shoot one of his teammates' drones, so a bit trigger happy, but that's a huge early pick and he doubles down. You can see full well why this guy is the highest rated player at the tournament.
Not just that, but he's even on the Nook, which, as you alluded to earlier, is going to be pretty challenging to deal with in this game. Now, TSM, that extended roam has been cut down, and they'll have to go for some heroics against Heroic to try and bring this one back in the man count.
Still a lot of map control for them, which is nice. Upstairs, Merc. Chief just taking out a drone and falling back. Worried about a push. Jim's going to re-drone him, it seems. And like you said, that really the onus is on TSM to figure out a way to get the numbers back on their side, but it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be too easy, but Merc is wasting a lot of time in that top floor. Meanwhile, the rest of Heroic seem to be turning their eyes towards the site. It's Achieved down in blue that is now in a little bit of a pickle, taken to very low HP, and eventually taken down by Benja, now Merc, in the 1-on-5.
Okay, but Achieved finds a double kill with the Capcan traps to save it from being a flawless round before the final kill is claimed. What a round for Heroic. That's one way to kick it off. Joom, very, very happy about that one.
Yeah, look at the grin on his face. He's like, heh, I picked a Nook and I walked in the building, kind of grin on your face. And that is exactly what he was able to do in that early round. TSM, they went for that extended roam. And what that means is that your setup is very late. By the time that you get to that top floor, you're probably just putting up your last reinforcement or just making your final rotate before you get on the cameras. And Joom fully capitalized on that early round to sneak his way in the building and catch any defenders that are getting caught off guard at the end of that prep phase. Taking down 2 picks like that really opened up the round for Heroic from there.
Something we don't often talk about is the nationality of these mixed European teams. So for Heroic, they actually have 4 different nationalities out of their 5 players. You got Uno from Finland, Benja and Joom from Germany, Grizzly from the UK, and Mello, who is French. Nice to see really multicultural teams. It's one of the things I loved about Rogue when they played at the Berlin Major. 5 players from 5 different countries in Europe.
And I believe that out of all the teams here, they are the only multinational team from EU. I think every other EU team
Wolves and BDS are both French.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, isn't Rise Belgian, technically? I think Rise is Belgian.
Very, very technical. Very, very technical.
The Belgians all around the world are very upset that we're calling them French right now.
This is the full 5-man multi-nation roster.
It's the closest we've got, isn't it?
There you go. Anyway, Bolo has just been able to take down Benja there on the defense, and that's your sledge gone and one set of your nades, which is something that will be aided to try and open up that anti-hard breach on the wall.
Yeah, Bolo's keen for more. Big breach going down. Oh, he was actually just looking for a bit of a stim. Looking for a good time, and Merc is happy to provide.
See, this is the danger in the bans that have gone through. Uno doesn't need to pick Maverick. He's like, all right, nothing is going to stop me from opening up this wall. We have everything we need. I'm just going to pick Thermite. He jumps on it straight away. A whole minute to go, and this Kennel's wall is well and truly wide open. They do have one set of nades and one set of flashbangs if they want to go for this garage take. They also have the Selmas in the hand of Grizzly if they want to go for a con side take. So really a lot of options here for Heroic.
I gotta say, is everyone in this map running a suppressor right now? I feel like I've only seen suppressors in the server so far. Heroic have managed to even up the man count. Merc going down. Bolo is actually sneaking his way up through oil, trying to make this garage play a little bit more difficult. But he's been spotted out, he's been taken low, he's been taken out. And TSM have made fantastic progress. They've got full control of garage, full control of rafters, easy as you like.
I'm wondering what they're going to do for the execute at this point, though. Even though they have the garage control, the diffuser is actually in the hands of Uno, who's on the breach. So if they want to go for a garage sated execute, they're going to have to trade positions with the diffuser. I think that's what Mello is going to go over and do now. They've got a minute to work with, so really, yeah, not too much to worry about. Okay, there we go. Mello is going to take that breach position, and Uno instead is going to take the diffuser over. We've already got a run and hole, which is what the Selmas were able to do, and this execute should come through fairly easily for Heroic.
Another rat-a-tat-tat of the suppressor. Now, Uno does have a vault hole he could go through. It looks like no one's actually covering his angle. Beautiful smoke play from the Capitao. Is there going to be any plant and here? That smoke is not seemingly affecting Uno, and he will commit to the plant. The second one will start to choke him out, but he's going to get the diffuser down and get out with his life. Now it's a retake as 3 TSM players lie in wait, deciding how they're going to play this through the Capitao's fire. Snake will run as he decides to rotate downstairs. Joom has managed to catch out one of the TSM players, and it's only a matter of time before the rest of them fall. Snake stands no chance. He might get the down, but there's surely not enough time to do anything with it. There you go. Heroic, 2 rounds on the trot here on Clubhouse.
Yeah, that was a pretty standard take there on the garage from Heroic. They took their time to not just take the garage, but they really set that up quite well. By bringing the double hard breach, it meant that they not only were able to get garage control very quickly with 2 Selma charges, but they even had a 3rd Selma charge to make sure that the entry point onto the default plant was safe. Usually you'd have to cross in through the window or go through that soft wall, but both of those entry points into the bomb site are exposed to the cache door or top raid or something like that. It can be pretty dangerous, right? So having that redundancy in the hard breach allowed them to get a very, very safe plan off and eventually win out the round.
Wow, it's a really good start for Heroic. A lot of people were saying that they have struggled so far. They haven't looked great against TSM and Liquid. That said, they did go 5-7 against both of those teams, and TSM of Liquid have both proven to be really formidable opponents. And perhaps Heroic just needed a little bit of a warm-up. They weren't feeling like themselves on day 1. Come into day 2, get a nice easy 7-1 win over Sandbox under your belt, and allow that to fill you with confidence going into a much tougher game here against TSM, which they clearly look primed and ready for.
Yeah, this is really good. Some good Clubhouse so far. I think TSM just need to tighten things up a little bit. It's probably why they've taken the tactical timeout now, just to make sure everyone is on the same page. It just feels like TSM, these early round picks that are sort of going back and forth a little bit is a result of them maybe making a little bit mistakes position-wise. Sometimes they're just running a little bit far out of position, not being careful enough on the crosses, that type of thing, to rotate in and out of the bomb site. And I think it's up to TSM now to just try and dial things back a little bit, even though the bans don't really lean into that too well. I'm really not sure what you can do here on this defending half to make things easier for yourself, to be honest.
Well, it is defense, which a lot of people say is the favored side, at least in Europe on Clubhouse, 57% as the second most played map. In North America, TSM's home, it's 60% defensive favored. So you really do want to be hanging on for as many defenses as you like. 3 or 4 would be ideal.
Well, the thing is, this series is pretty unique, I think. A lot of those defending stats come around because you have to do that micro game juggle with the Thatcher and the Thermite. You can only get open so many hatches, usually, for example. You can only get open so many walls, for example. But in this lineup of attackers, you can do a lot, to the point that they're bringing 2 hard breach on a CCTV cache attack, right? That's not something that you see every day, right? Because usually you have to have the Maverick in your hand that takes loads of time, that kind of thing, right?
And on top of that, we've also seen Heroic able to afford to bring operators like Capitao, which have been really powerful when it comes to execute, when it comes to pinching out positions. Like, for example, Rafters, you'd think on Cash, that's where you're going to win the round. You have maybe an Azami on Rafters. You really hold on for as long as possible. You can delay that time, make it work for you. But guess what? Azami has been banned out by Heroic themselves, and they're not finding any trouble opening walls, as you say, clearing power positions, as you say, or finding those execute opportunities.
Yeah, I think the main thing is, like, even in that last round, Uno, all he did was open up the wall with the thermite. He just repelled on the breach and eventually found a pick onto the guy in Rafters, right? That guy in Rafters was pretty pressured out, like you said. He had 2 thermal charges going down below him, so he knew that garage was about to be enteried on. The Capitao, like you said, was also getting involved in that garage push. And so when you're in a bit of a tricky situation like that, you're being surrounded by utility like vultures, then yeah, it's pretty tough. And for TSM, I think they need to reconvene and figure out what they're going to do against this lineup. It's quite a challenging problem-solving skill, I think, in this particular matchup of Clubhouse.
I think especially it gets more difficult when you have a technical pause, which is what we are going through right now, guys. We're not just doing a bit of an exhibition of the players for fun. Bolo looks like he's never been more excited about anything in his entire life. I watched back a bit of an interview with Odin from Direwolves, and they were talking about yesterday when we were casting them, we had a technical pause. I was saying like, oh, it must be so hard to stay focused in moments like this. And he actually said, well, that's actually completely wrong. We don't want to be focused. We don't want to have our heads in the game. When you have something like a drawn out technical pause, it's actually better to just chill out and talk about whatever, crack a joke, talk about what you had for breakfast this morning. It really doesn't matter. Talk about what TV shows you're watching at the moment. Get your mind off the game. Do something like this. Play some rock, paper, scissors. Joom and Uno, who's going to win it? Oh, come on. Uno, you got to commit. Paper, ready? Come on. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Joom's better.
No.
He's simply better.
He's better in the server and IRL. Can you believe it?
I like how they, as soon as he won, they just, Uno just gave up, walked away.
Concede defeat. What are you going to do, you know?
Uno's been around the block a few times in teams in Europe, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And he's found a pretty different place on this roster as well, because usually when you think of Uno, you think of like kind of the old guard that's been around. He kind of shoots stuff. He's a bit cracked, you know?
Yeah.
But now on this roster, he's had to do something completely different, and it's learn hard breach. Now, I spoke to Heroic on the first day. I wanted to get to know them a little bit better. So I walked in, I was chatting with them in their player room, and I asked Uno, how are you finding IGLing as team? You know, what's it been like learning how to be a captain in IGL? And he was going, well, someone has to do it. Yeah. Everyone wants to be the player that just guts told what to do and runs in and does it, right? No one wants to use their brain to think about their other teammates. They just want to do what they're told to do and go for it, right?
It's a thankless job, isn't it?
It is a thankless job. It is a thankless job.
You're about enabling all your teammates to go and pop off, and you just have to be the responsible one who sits on site and gets no kills and then has to try and win a 1v5. Yeah. That's someone's going to do it, though. And Uno is no longer the young gunner that he once was back in the day.
Are you calling him old?
He's 27 years old.
Oh, man.
He's actually the oldest player in this game. I will say I don't have Gasha and Snake's ages, but I'm going to hedge a bet that they are not above 27. I think they're probably in that 18 to 22 range would be my guess. A lot of the rookies tend to be around that age. For example, Joom is only 19 years old.
Jeez. I feel like when we get on the desk, we do a lot of age talking, you know?
Yeah, I just love shaming people for how old they are.
It's horrible.
Do you want to talk about Mr. Officer or not?
No. Man's going to come into this production room and give us a both big slap for that one.
I would not want to cross Mr. Officer. That man is like a tank.
I would not either. That would be terrifying. Oh, dear.
I will say, I can understand why they look to Uno for leadership. He's spent quite some time on Heroic now, but if you look further back in time, of course, G2, he joined around the time that they went and competed at the Six Major Raleigh. Funnily enough, it was kind of at the time where G2 started declining, was when he started to join. It was after they'd won in 2019 at the Invitational. At that time, he was actually playing for Lestream. And even before that, he played for the good old Ents roster, who were, in their own right, an amazing Finnish team. They were actually my favourite team back in the day.
I was going to say, that's a bit of a throwback now.
Oh, yeah. You remember Wilkie and Kanto and Uno?
Wow.
They were the GOATs.
That is a bit of a throwback roster, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we're back in the game. We need to stop talking about reminiscing on
We'll finish the history lesson later.
Okay, we'll stop reminiscing on old times. We're now back in the game. What's the bomb site? Here we go. It is gym and bedroom. So they're not going to repeat that CCTV and cash one. Fair enough, honestly. That one is a pretty tough one to hold with the bans that have gone through. And instead, they're going to look to hold this other bomb site with an extension over onto the cash side.
Well, a lot of work to be done for TSM. Haven't won a single defense yet. Heroic have done their rock, paper, scissors, and they're ready to get back into the server. Pressure not on their shoulders. I'm really looking to TSM to try and steal away a defense. But as you said, this hard breach has been so hard. This counter execute has been so hard for TSM to try and deny.
So Benja has actually gone the baby EMPs on Nook. He's not decided to take the grenades that are usually characteristic on this operator. Getting his drone in nice and early, he can use these EMPs to help Uno open up this wall. Doom as well as cooking a grenade, I'm not exactly sure where from, to try and clear out that position off the back of the intel.
Looks like it is mainly focusing on this breach area as first. Okay, yeah.
Well, they could totally go for it.
Yeah, are they going to commit to it? Benjo is just going to send it in. Gasher on the other side, trying to contest elsewhere. Merc has found the opener, but it's a difficult one for Heroic to get their heads in. Benja gets traded back, Snake holding down the line, but it is pure, undiluted chaos in the server as Heroic maintain this man advantage and further it. What's more, it's all up to achieve now. 1v3 becomes a 1 versus 2 as Grizzly and Uno bide their time. Starting to force that diffuser down. There's no way! Uno gets off just at the right moment and Grizzly said, this is my time to shine. A fist pump or two from Mr. Officer. And that is Heroic 3 rounds straight.
Nicely identified from Heroic. That intel that went through early in the game, we saw Benja, he was the one that was joining the site inside of gym. As soon as he saw that rotation go out, he said, all right, guys, I reckon we just walk in here, hey?
Why don't we send it?
Why don't we send it?
What if we just sent it?
See, that's the IGL power, right? You know, even though he's the one, he plays Nook, he brings EMPs on Nook. That is the sign of a true support player in soul, right? Not only that, but he gets on the breach and he starts droning from it as well. He gets into the site and goes, gym is clear. We've cleared it out with a nade, and that is your invitation to go straight into the bomb site. Pretty impressive on the side of Heroic to make a call like that, change up the pace and make it nice and quick and force TSM into that retake, and eventually they're able to win off the round.
Well, bit scary now for TSM, isn't it? They started today in the lead against Team Liquid, in the lead on the unfavored side on border, and yet Liquid came back and taught them a lesson. They walked away from that game with 0 points. Now they're playing Heroic. They've taken 3 points off Heroic before, but I'm not so sure that they can do it again, Mandy. 0-3 down on Clubhouse defense, and the reigning airside champions have a long way to go to be looking playoffs ready.
It's true. It does look kind of down at the moment for TSM. I think I'm going to reserve my judgment a little bit. I'm going to wait for the side switch because I think that once TSM go onto their attack, we'll see that Heroic will probably face the similar adversities that they did when they were on their defense half, right? And I think it just at this point depends on who can problem solve the quickest, right?
Yeah.
TSM, I think, tried to problem solve a little bit in that last match, in that last round. For example, they did the CCTV cache extension, but they were playing the cache wall half open. So if they did go for that map sweep, there's no point in opening the wall because it's already there, and that's just they just tried to contest them more directly, right? That type of attack, TSM were not prepared for. And I think this is all going to be just purely a game of problem solving because of the way that the bans have worked out and because the attack has so many tools.
And you got to be switched on, don't you? Because even if TSM have a great aggressive strategy on the other side of the map that would counter a Heroic pushing the map, if Heroic thinks, hey guys, why don't we just hit a cheeky rush on Jim at the Jacuzzi Breach, if TSM are not ready for it, then they will suffer. Now, we've finished our technical timeout, and now we're back into a tactical timeout. So that means that Achieved, as we can see on the screen, will be able to talk to Pojo standing behind them. Likewise for Heroic, talking to Mr. Officer, but I don't think there's much strategy they need to discuss. They're just chilling. It's really TSM that we need to be thinking about right now. What are they going to be saying right now in their tactical timeout to get back on that horse?
I'm trying to theory craft what they could do here on the defense. And it's quite tough, to be honest. I felt like when TSM went for that basement extended roam, I thought that was the right approach, to be honest.
They just got caught out by a really aggro gym.
They just got, it happens, you know. But in a macro kind of perspective of this game, I think that what they were trying to do makes sense. They are going to take us back down to the basement. And I wonder what kind of philosophy they're going to bring into this game. Now, we've just got this qualifying probability to come up. So I am right. If Heroic do win this in regulation, they actually do jump TSM in percentage chance for qualifying into the playoffs.
It's really good. Also, let's not forget that your round differential really matters because that is the tiebreaker determiner. So let me just have a quick look back at how these guys performed against the other teams. So the big difference here is that Heroic went 7-1 over Sandbox, whereas TSM only beat Sandbox 7-4. So Heroic already have that kind of 3-round advantage on TSM when it comes to that round diff later on. And of course, adding to that, the more convincingly Heroic is able to take down TSM in regulation here, the more it will favor them, because previously it was a very tight 7-5 that TSM won. If Heroic could get away with a 7-4, 7-3, their chances of going to the playoffs would skyrocket.
So just to quickly touch on the roam that TSM are going for, it is still a roam. It's not as extended as the previous one was. They're investing more utility into that ground floor. We saw a couple of Melusi Banshees, as well as the Goyo canisters on the staircases to try and prevent that second to third stage of the attack from Heroic. Now, how quickly can Joom get in the building? I don't know. Benja, he's going to be the one cooking a grenade, trying to contest the angles inside of Logi, and Joom has already actually made his way down in through blue, segmenting off the roam.
Will he be able to find one of these players in bar, I wonder? He snuck in from this area previously. Drone work has been quite effectual here. Oh, Snake spotted out, wallbanged a little bit, moves forward. He's just waiting for Joom to waltz up. TSM still roaming, but they're so separated from each other. Bolo upstairs, not able to support this poor player of Snake inside bar.
Yeah, Joom is in a pretty pivotal position here. He's stuck between two defenders, one inside of Garage, that's Bolo, and he's actually cutting off Snake as well. Grizzly to double down on this position. Snake is in a very, very tricky spot. He's just been spotted out as well, and he needs some of his teammates to help him.
Oh, Snake might be able to fall off here. Does drop down the open moto hatch. The right move. He still has a C4 in pocket, and he still has a part to play in the rest of this round.
Yeah, that was a perfect fall-off from Snake. I think that was the one and only thing that he could have done in his situation. But do Heroic know where Bolo is? He's still sitting inside of that rafters, seemingly undetected, while the rest of Heroic starts to work through the mid-round.
Benja getting to work on the vertical game. I do wonder whether Bolo has many drones on him. Achieved has found another Capcan kill. That's the third for him this game so far. Has Joom just completely misdroned? Surely he knows about Bolo.
Uh-oh. This could be a bit dangerous.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no. To quickly touch on as well, Grizzly going down is one of your hard breach going down as well. They do not have any more ex-Kairos on the side of Uno, and I'm not entirely sure what they have open yet. There's only 30 seconds, and I think it's a little more desperation from Heroic than it is from TSM.
Yeah, good positions now from TSM, and Gasha. Okay, not a good position from him on the smoke, no less. But it might not matter here for TSM. That said, Heroic are going big. They've got this breach on the church wall, and they make good on it. That's Mellow. In the blink of an eye, Merc finds himself in a 1v3. A nice shot to make it a 1v2, but this diffuser is going to have to go down. Mellow to cover. Merc has just 1 HP as he pops that Vulcan canister and bides his time. Now it's a retake scenario. Can't quite take down Mellow at the bottom of the main stairs. But now Uno for Heroic is also up. Gun train on this position. In fact, Mellow's going to go upstairs, so it's on Merc. Can he read the position? He hears him. He sees him. The flash to go out. Oh, and it's going to be so difficult. Uno has the patience. He has the time on his side, and he's got the fresh aim. 4 rounds in a row for Heroic, and TSM are looking bedraggled.
Yeah, really tricky stuff for TSM Heroic. They managed to bring that one back. I felt like through that mid-round, it could have got a little bit scary with Bolo still being on the top floor. But as we were watching that one-on-one situation happen with Joom, they were actually able to get open that church wall. And I think that was the right play to go for the utility that they had left. They had no more ace on the board. The X-Kairos was starting to be dedicated to getting that triple wall open since Moto had already been opened up for them, right? You may as well take the real estate that's given to you for free, and using Moto in tandem with 90 short to get through triple is exactly the right push that you can go for. Heroic making as much use as they can of that space, eventually close out the round.
This is really scary for TSM. They need to do something different, and it looks like they might be employing that this round. This is the 4th different bomb site TSM have gone to now on bar stage. In fact, in Europe, bar and stage, it's the 3rd most popular, so the 2nd least popular bomb site on Clubhouse, but actually has the highest win rate, up at 67% over 15 rounds. In North America, also the most defender-sided bomb site at 75%, but that's only over 8 rounds. What we can say for here, though, is that TSM are making a gamble, but I think it's the right one.
Interesting strategy as well from TSM, looking to segment off that jacuzzi walls. Oh, goodness gracious me, never mind. Achieved decides to go for a run out onto Benja and is punished for it, and that's already one TSM player taken down. Seemingly Heroic have already got info in that top floor as well. We just saw a yellow ping come out. Grizzly getting ready to rappel into this main stairs window. Opens that up with the Gara hook.
What?
Oh no, Grizzly!
Oh my God. But the plan is going down from Uno, so it might not matter. It's now going to be a post-plant retake 3v3. Gasha, his yokai drones, goodness gracious, who knows where they were. Snake now flanking from upstairs, and here comes Merc. He's found 1 kill already, but he's going to have to do a lot more. He has 1 gas left, but he doesn't look to his left. And Snake now is the only one left. He catches out 1 player, but he's going to have to find Uno as well. Playing at the bikes outside. He waits, and he listens. He's jumped inside. He's got the Nook, and now Snake has to commit. There's information, and there's no way he wins this. It turns out bar stage was not the answer for TSM, as they are getting decimated by Heroic.
Yeah, it's not the medicine they needed to stop the bleeding, hey. That's not great from TSM, and for Heroic, once again, another great read from Uno. Putting Uno on Nook, I reckon is the play. It is not every day that you have your IGL on a roll like that, right? I think it's just so impressive the way that Uno has been able to call this early to mid-round for Heroic, capitalizing on such quick opportunities, right? He saw that TSM, they were still setting up that top floor. They had this big old hard hold set up inside of gym and inside of master bedroom, but what he realized was that there's a blind spot in that vertical for that sort of diagonal double door plan onto stage. It's a little bit tricky to explain, but there is a bit of a blind spot if you can get through that diagonal door onto the stage and look for that plant early on. TSM just hadn't had that set up, and they weren't ready for that in time, and that really goes to show that Uno is a really great IGL. He's been able to call these kinds of pushes and spot those kind of mistakes in the setup really early on.
When Heroic were planning to do a rush there, imagine the elation they would have felt when they got that freebie on Achieved running out. It's one thing to try and gamble a rush in a 5v5, but when you already know it's a 5v4 and there's a fairly complicated defensive strat, you are laughing.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Heroic have decided to bring along the Monty in the form of Mello, and Benja as well, making his way in from that basement. Bit of a spooky look, and look how...
Jeez.
Wow, look how adventurous Mello is being on this Monty. This is exciting.
TSM says, you are not welcome here. Get out. 2 impacts already used by Merc, but to be honest, 2 impacts for, what, 10, 20 HP? Mello is completely unfazed.
He's feeling pretty mellow, if you will. Benja's making his way in. He's making his way in through the bottom of the oil pit, and he will be met by the frostplay of Bolo just at the top of the secret stairs. They don't seem too aware of each other. I think Bolo's just got a little bit of a sound cue on someone that might be in the basement. He takes the engagement, is able to win out the fight, but Uno, he's on the other side of the...
Oh, no way!
So gets taken down by Bolo, and that's a 2 down for TSM.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thermite as well. Big risk for Uno to take, and if I'm not wrong, the breach was not actually opened yet.
Nope.
So, yeah, well, rip, F in the chat.
They do have a little bit of redundancy in Grizzly, but really he's only got one more Selma charge, and they only have the baby EMPs of Mellow as well, so it's up to the rest of Heroic to try and find a pick elsewhere. That's Doom from below trying to cook a nade and connect one onto Achieved. A Frostmat is stopping Mellow from being able to take the fight onto this Rafters player instead. Oh, this is very challenging for Heroic.
Yeah, this is super smart though. That Frostmat, obviously it looks easy to shoot, but the Monty can't unshield and shoot it because he'll get taken down by the player in front of him. And he can't walk up, we can't really walk around it. It's an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, not looking so good. Grizzly is actually going to come in from below, try and double down with Mellow. Doom on his own coming through the secret stairs. They'll have to find something, some kind of heroics to claw their way back into the round, but Merc is still holding these Wamai charges in his hand.
Oh, no way!
To take the one-on-one. Grizzly actually from below will take him down, and suddenly Rafters control is in their favor.
That was so well played, wasn't it? And look at all this utility that's been bypassed. No need to use projectiles when you get creative. Now a 3v4, looking all right, looking winnable. My question is, will we... Yeah, there you go. The banner batches have been taken off, and Grizzly is going to get an open hole on the main CCTV wall.
This is still tough from here, though. There's only 35 seconds left. The diffuser is in the right spot if they want to go for a plant, but I can only imagine Achieved has got some kind of lineup with a C4 for the default.
He's going to have to. It's been ripped. The gas goes out, though, and that's going to take Mellow so low. In fact, he will lose his life. Bolo on for the run out, but it might not matter here. Grizzly is going to have to go big. He enters in, but he's immediately shut down. A C4 to say, see you later. And TSM finally kept themselves on the scoreboard.
Yeah, well played from Bolo. He was the one in the early round to make things happen, right? For Heroic, look, it happens.
It happens.
It happens. You had Benja coming in from the basement. Ideally, good play. Uno as well. They're just out on the window looking for the trade.
Well,
ideally, good pinch.
It's hard.
Sometimes you take the 2-on to Bolo and you don't win it.
Yeah, that's Bolo for you, right? It's interesting. We've talked a lot about Uno and about how he's the support player for this team now, and he's that leadership figure. But perhaps there was a little bit of that fragger still in him when he made the call to get off the balcony and try and refrag his teammate on that window. If it worked, it would have looked genius. And because it didn't, his team really suffered for it.
Well, I don't know. I think it happens. Sometimes.
It happens.
That was a pretty favorable trade for them. But in the end, you play against Bolo, and he's on Frost. Anyway, now we've got a side swap. We have got a side swap, and they did go 5-1 up on their attack, which is very impressive. But here comes the question, right? How will they fare on the defense? Because we've seen that attacking is made quite easy with the tools that they have in their hands.
I don't know. I think, yeah, this might be an attacker-favored map with the Azami, the Valk ban, and the fact that all the hard breach and Thatcher and Mav have been left in. But I just don't see TSM coming back from a 5-1 down.
Bit of a tough one now. TSM starting to get their way into the map. Of course, they are bringing along the double hard breach as well of the Thermite and of the Ace. They can create as many entry points as their heart desires, the first one going onto that construction wall.
Slow and steady, it seems, for TSM. Quite a bit of a roam as well for Heroic, as Benja is prepping an angle to contest the balcony outside Jim. Speaking of contesting, Jim's taken very low on this. Maestro playing quite aggressively inside of Jim. Ooh, there was an impact trick to deny some of that Selma action, so that's really good from Heroic as well, continuing to delay TSM.
And here we go. They're even continuing to cut down the site more and more. Not only have they opened up the con wall, but they've now also got open the jacuzzi wall. They have a line of sight inside of server that's denying them from using that server window for the balcony contest. TSM just taking their time to slowly cut away at Heroic, cut down what power positions might be safe for them.
And what's the next step now for TSM? A lot of progress has been made and now Achieved. Makes his way to the main stairs, a drone ahead of him, the barbed wire taken down by the sledge. Ajum would love to be doing Plantinal in the late round, but he's in such an aggressive position, I don't think it's likely he'll be safe enough to do so. Achieved, though, he's got 2 nades in pocket and he could do some serious damage. Nothing with that one. He's going to be able to shoot open this mirror window, which will further expose Doom inside a bathroom.
Medics, I love that you went on the top down for like a second, because that just showed us how claustrophobic the defense is for Heroic at the moment. They're all really stuck in their positions. Jim, about a millimeter away from ending his life inside of Jim, is able to take down a player through the hatch, but he's got to be careful of Bolo, who's just outside the breach and has another line of sight against him.
Yeah, and it's Bolo with the AK-12. What more could you want? He saved TSM last round. Can he stave off match point? Merc is aware of this position, but the shoulder peek, the quick one, it's going to be so difficult. Benja, though, decides not to re-peek as TSM get desperate. Uno for a double in the bathroom. He lines them up and shuts them down one by one. Achieved is about to get a whole face full of bullets as Uno makes it a 5 versus 1. There's no two ways about it. Merc is going down. Heroic on a flawless round with match point against TSM.
I want to put that round into Joom inside of that Jim position. I think a big difference between the way that Heroic played that defense and the way that TSM played that defense is that Joom knew that holding onto that Jim position was going to be hard, but it was also the win condition of the round, right? If he gave that up and the breach was open, and they had players down below that were shooting them through the hatch, that's a lot of real estate given to them to enter in through the breach and to come up main stairs. So to be in that Hell in a Cell spot, even though you're meeting about a whopping square meter of space that you're safe from, he knows that he's got the Alder in his hand. He needs to juggle a couple of angles, but eventually that works out for them because TSM struggled so much to get in through that breach. Uno was there for the double, and I just think that Heroic knew the win condition of that round, given how much the site had been opened up from those hard breach.
Yeah, wow, Mandy, this is not looking too good for TSM. This will ruin their chances of making playoffs. Still salvageable, but Heroic will put themselves into the playoffs conversation. TSM, after starting so strong, their first 2 games, all wins, day 2 of the major has been a travesty.
And look at this, Heroic are actually taking us down to the bar and stage bomb site. Like you said earlier, pretty uncharacteristic bomb site, often not even a tertiary bomb site on this map. And looking once again for that extended hold upstairs, pretty similar to what TSM were able to do.
Let's see if TSM can crawl their way back. It will be slow, it will be difficult. And these attacks have not proved to be easy for them so far. The Heroic are looking very comfortable, looking very happy. Bolo to play aggressively. He's got the pinch with Achieved coming up from down below the main stairs. And TSM are making a fast play here. You can see it in their eyes. They're hungry for it. But Mello finds one before being traded. TSM have the bar bomb site, but they're vulnerable to the vultures above, raining down terror. Gasha caught between a rock and a hard place, and Joom says, hello, you forgot about me. And he's good for a second one, potentially. Low bullets, but it might not matter. He's hungry for another. And TSM are falling apart. It's pure chaos in the server as Snake must sliver his way out of this. It's not going to happen. Heroic demonstrates some serious heroics. It's a 7-1 to take down the North American rivals and TSM.
Absolutely dominant. There's no other word for it. These guys are demons on Clubhouse. They shut out all of the attacks that TSM had tried to do right as they get into the defending half. I said it was going to be hard, but they made it look easy.
They absolutely did. Just look at their faces. They couldn't be more psyched after that one. And in contrast, TSM looks like some mellow fist pumps. There's got to be a lot more work for TSM if they are to make playoffs, but we'll break down that game in detail in just a moment, so stick around.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a two-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position. That is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
I hope you've had a chance to take a bit of a rest after what was a very quick one. My God, did Heroic bring the fire. And to finish it off with a rush like that as well, they knew exactly what they were doing on defense, on attack. It didn't matter. TSM are the ones who really need to check their bank accounts and see if they can cash the checks that they've been charging this event.
Yeah, that's a rough one. That was a super rough one for TSM. It just felt like they never really had an in and they couldn't figure out how. You know, it felt like everything that TSM tried to tweak their defense against what Heroic were doing just didn't seem to work out. Heroic were really on the ball. Uno, I think his early to mid-round calling, capitalizing on small mistakes in the TSM setup was super good. And it really led to so many round wins that happened, honestly, really quickly. It almost never took the full minutes of the round for Heroic to take it out.
Yeah, they were so prompt, and also they really chilled out during those extended technical pauses as well. We've seen Doom dominate in and out of the server. There were some good moments for TSM, but unfortunately they really were few and far between. Even the opportunities to make a play, to go for a run out, to get a clutch, TSM just fell short.
Just want to say shout out to production. I love that we have camera, like in-person replays. That is awesome. It's so cool. I mean, we never get these LAN events, right? How many opportunities are you going to have to showcase a little bit of love there in the outside of the server of the players, right? This series was really great. Once again, that was one of the early rushes that actually didn't work out for TSM. Uno in tandem with Joom inside of Gym, they were ready for that because they did that on their attacking half, right? And so when they had that happen to them, when they were playing Gym in bedroom, they were ready for it and just felt like Heroic in general had a better read on the win conditions of the game compared to TSM.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And you can also see it in the scoreboard. Doom, 12-5. On point as usual. Mello, the other rookie for the roster, 10-4. Having a fantastic game. Did all of the Heroic players, to be honest. I mean, Grizzly barely saw anyone. He didn't need to, did he?
Yeah.
As for TSM, look, a bit of a struggle. Snake, the only one with a decent cost rating. And I think that's mostly just because he might have found a frag here or there. As a whole, it just fell apart for TSM. It felt like they never had the read on what Heroic was doing.
And of the two players to be top frag in the server, it is Doom and it is Mello. Your two rookie players, these are the better rookie roster apparently. It's Heroic, it's not TSM.
And even TSM's rookie of Snake was the highest rated on their team.
It's the new era. Send all these old guys home.
Don't say that too loud.
Okay,
Uno will come knocking. And especially when we got Team Liquid also at the top of the group, the old guard with a couple of rookies of their own.
True.
But yes, with this win, Heroic have now jumped over TSM and into that top 2 position, looking hot for the playoffs. A huge win, especially because now that, I mean, the final result between Heroic and TSM in this double round robin, they both played each other twice, is Heroic well, they won one each, but Heroic had a far better round difference. TSM only won 7-5. Heroic won 7-1. That's a huge difference. And of course, that does put Heroic in prime position to go to the playoffs. TSM, I think a lot of people were expecting to go to the playoffs, and I'm not too sure that's going to happen anymore. Even with some good performances tomorrow, it will take quite a miracle to see North America's best team, the Stage 3 champions, up on the big stage for another shot at getting a championship in Sweden like they did back in February.
Yeah, I think that one was tough. We said it in the pre-match that this was going to be the tipping point to move into that top-heavy side of the standings for this group, and I think it really did come out to be that way. Heroic are now at much better chance. I think it's 59% chance to 44% chance for TSM in making it into the playoffs. So it does still rest a little bit on tomorrow's results, but if things go to plan against the bottom half of the group, it should be good for Heroic to push through.
Well, things might not go according to plan in the groups, because guess what? Sandbox is currently beating Team Liquid. That's on the B stream. You can stick around here, and we're going to that stream right now to see if Sandbox can take their first point.